go ahead and take a seat. I have a question for all of the children out there. I spy something with my little old eye, something that is pink. Did you see something pink? No? Oh, he ducked. Oh, no. Fiona, you got this? There's a pink candle up there, which is actually, and this happened in, did you guys not get the memo that I was going to do this? Why'd you wear pink? Ed, come on. You ruined the thing. What I wrote here, this happened in the 8 o'clock too. Marge Edwards was there, and she had this big pink blazer on, and I was like, oh no! Everyone's going to say, oh, it's Marge. I was like, no, it's a little candle up there. So there usually aren't many things that are pink during Advent. I'm sorry, I had to teach it. It's not?
It's red. Look at Debbie, come on.
That's purple. Oh, it's pink. Okay. It must be the lights. I can't see anything. Anyway. The colors of Advent are blue or purple, depending on the church. And it's dark. It's the dark time of the church calendar. But today, on the third Sunday of Advent, is Pink or Rose Sunday. And this Sunday even gets its own name, Gaudete Sunday. Gaudete means rejoicing in Latin. It means throw a party, make confetti and toss it up in the air, and don't think about poor Peter who's probably got to sweep it up. Turn up the music, get your dancing shoes on, because we're going to have some fun. That's what Gaudete Sunday means. But wait. Pink, rose, fun? This is Advent. You should be crying and sackcloths and ashes and stuff like that, right? We're not supposed to have fun during Advent. It's supposed to be quiet and thoughtful and even a little bit penitential. But here is this glaring rose, this glaring pink in the middle of this season of dark blue, of purple, of contemplation. What's going on with this pink candle, this pink rose Sunday? Bless you. But actually, besides Christmas and Easter, Gaudete Sunday and its twin in Lent, Laudate Sunday, are some of the most important Christian feasts. Or at least their theology is super close to what we Christians talk about when we're talking about the good news. Pink in the midst of dark blue, pink in the midst of red, are symbols of a very important message. They're symbols of the very good news that we're told to proclaim. And that message is this: you don't have to wait until the end before you start having fun. That's part of the good news, right? Because you know what's awesome? Daffodils. Do you like daffodils? I love daffodils. I think they're awesome. Because, it's snowy or it's cold, and you see them popping up with their nice green stalks and these like trumpet flower shapes. And you see them and you think, it's not even near the end of winter yet, and you're already coming up, and they're like, I don't care. I don't care if it's winter. I'm going to come up anyway because I just love being a daffodil. I love daffodils. My parents had like tons of daffodils all around our property when I was growing up. They still have some. Dad's ripped them up because he forgot where they were and dug there. And Mom said, Bob, you can't do that. You'll wreck the daffodils. But I'd walk up the driveway to school, and there would just be daffodils all over in the winter. And it was just so wonderful when I wanted to just climb back into bed because it was so cold. And I didn't even want to leave the house. But here were these daffodils that were welcoming me into spring before it even happened. Or, since we're talking about childhood, I'll tell you a story about the good old Hannon household and how we did things on Christmas morning. My sister and I, when we were young, we'd get up before dawn. It was dark outside. And my parents forbade me and her to get them up before the sun rose. And we were like, that's absurd. Why don't you want to get up early? And they said, please. And now I understand. But they're like, please don't get us up. So my sister and I would go downstairs and sneak past our, parents' room, and we look at all the presents, and we wonder what they are, and we pick them up, and we shake it and think, that's a book. Okay. We pick one up and shake it, and we go, crush, 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 and we thought, we shouldn't shake that one, okay. That one's yours, Katie. But, finally, when the sun dawned, we made enough noise that Mom and Dad pulled themselves from their beds and made coffee and came down bleary-eyed and said, fine, go and open them up. Poor parents. Now I can pray with you because I know what it's like. But on Christmas morning, little Timmy Hannon opened up presents like a ravenous wolf. I didn't even see them before I went to the next present. I just pick it up and rip it open and go, yay, that's what my grandma gave me. Rip it open, yeah, that's what Aunt Sheila gave me. And just keep on tearing them up, tearing them up, tearing them up. And by the time I got to the end of my presents, my sister was still on her second present because she would pick it up and undo the tape. And then the other side. She'd open it up and peek inside. I wonder what this is. And then she'd open it up. And if it was a book, she'd start reading it. Who reads books on Christmas morning? I really hope Katie's watching this one. Who reads books on Christmas morning, Katie? Or she'd open it up, and it would be like a My Little Pony thing, and she'd be like, oh, and she'd take it out of the package and untie the hair and then kind of play with it. Who does that? Do you all do that? Or were you like me? Tear it all open. But, I loved all these things. I just, I'd get to the end and I'd play with them and all of it. But, Katie would play with each and every toy in the midst of the chaos of Christmas. She didn't wait for the joy at the end. She wanted to play with that My Little Pony now. And I've gone to a number of hospital rooms where there's laughter. And I've gone to a number of hospital rooms where people have been dying and there's laughter. And, I steel myself up to go to hospital rooms. I talk to myself. I'm like, okay, Tim, you can do this. You can put on your pastoral face. You're bringing God into this hospital room for people. You can do this. And I go in, and people are cracking jokes and laughing and teasing each other and teasing people on their beds, on their deathbed. Who teases people on their deathbed? But they're having a great time. I walked into one when I was doing my internship. And I was, I wasn't even a priest at this point. So I was like, oh no, what do I bring to these poor people? Don't you get this not priest to help them with death? And they started teasing me. And I was like, what are you doing? Who are you people? But there's laughter in these rooms because people are surrounded by people they love. They're remembering all of the things that made life wonderful. It doesn't always happen. There are a lot of tears too. But sometimes you walk in and there's a lot of laughter. And now there's something to say before I go on with this. And it's something very important. Our culture often tells us to laugh instead of cry, to look on the bright side of life. And that's because our culture in very many ways is scared of death. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to think about it. And we often cover it up with empty laughter, which is more uncomfortable and a heck of a lot more painful than actual grief. But we can't ignore grief. Some days we need to cry, and some days are heavier than others. And grief is sometimes so close that it feels like it's choking us. The message of the gospel is not just laugh and throw caution to the wind, nor that pain and suffering are healing in and of themselves, but that healing can be found even in the depths of the deepest despair. Bless you. Laughter and joy and hope don't come only when all the tears are finally dried up and the world is renewed. No, the world is renewed from within pain, for that is where God seeks us, and that is where God has found us. Now, although I quote Tolkien, the author of Lord of the Rings, in every single sermon, you just don't know it. I'm going to quote him directly now. So Tolkien calls this eucatastrophe. Tolkien was a Christian. He was a Roman Catholic. And he called this kind of thing in literature, but also in life, eucatastrophe. Now, we all know what catastrophe is, right? Catastrophe is a sudden onrush of pain or grief or suffering. I looked at the news this week and saw the tornadoes that are in Kentucky, and it just leveled villages, towns, cities. That's catastrophe. Catastrophe is when you suddenly get a call out of nowhere that someone has died. I remember when Helene called me at work and said that her dad had died. And I didn't even have time to pray for him. That was a catastrophe. We all know what catastrophe is. But Tolkien does something important, and he puts this U in the beginning of catastrophe. And this U isn't U, it's spelled EU, and it's the same U in the beginning of Eucharist. This is something good. It means blessing, joy, hope. And so a eucatastrophe is a sudden joyous turn, a sudden miraculous grace. It doesn't deny the existence of discatastrophe, of sorrow and failure, but it denies, in the face of much evidence otherwise, the universal, final defeat. It is the great no before an all-encompassing darkness, shouted in the midst of that darkness. The eucatastrophe Gaudete Sunday is the voice of John the Baptist crying out in the middle of the night, "You brood of vipers." And Luke says, this is the good news. It's that call to return, that there is a possibility of return. There's a possibility of resurrection, even when there is no hint of hope. It's laughter coming from a hospital room. It's a call from the friend at the exact time you need it. It is the prayer of loved ones in heaven for us down here who are still in the valley of the shadow of death. But there's still more. There's still more to this. Because laughter could be in vain. A call from a friend could be a coincidence. Hope in the midst of darkness could be fool's hope. But each of these moments is founded on one thing. Each moment of grace, each turn, sudden turn towards goodness, that seems so much like a miracle. But how could miracles even possibly exist? Each turn and sudden appearance of the good in the world is founded on one thing, and that is the resurrection. For the Savior of the world was nailed to a cross. And you think about the disciples, right? These people who thought, this is the guy, this is the one who came to change everything, who healed and who spoke these truths. And there he is, hanging dead and cold and bleeding on a cross. Imagine the despair of that. And then imagine 3 days later, still in the midst of the despair, some woman comes in and says, he's alive, he's alive. The disciples were probably like, yeah, right. Thomas certainly was. It was like, yeah, right, let me see it. Show me the money, right? But in the midst of their despair, suddenly something amazing happened. And it wasn't just for them. It wasn't just for the people of that time. It wasn't just even for us people on earth, but it's for people across, well, I'm assuming there's aliens. There's, in the entire universe is what the resurrection was for. Things and planets and parts of the universe we don't even know about. That's what the resurrection is for, and that's what these moments of grace, this joy in the midst of sadness is for. Now, Christian joy is not like other joy. Christian joy isn't just about being happy. It's not about getting nice, fancy presents on Christmas or even doing things that are really fun, like building snowmen, which I gotta say, I love building snowmen, but it's not even that. Christian joy is seeing our family members and wrapping our arms around them after not seeing them for years upon years. It's tasting good home-cooked meals after a long time on the road. For me, that was eggnog last night. Helene came in, the girls, she had just gone shopping, and she said, look what I got. And Gwendolyn's... Did I break it?
I hope not. I don't know. I don't think so.
So eggnog. We'll fix that later. Dwayne and Peter aren't here, so that's good. So anyway, eggnog. Helene brought an eggnog. It was one of these little tiny things. But Gwendolyn and Fiona's eyes went wide, and they're like, oh, it's eggnog time. That that love and that wonder of home-cooked meals, of eggnog just when it's cold, of the beauty of love that just fills your hearts, even in the midst of despair. That doesn't always fix the despair, but is still there reminding you that there's a world outside of it, that you are not alone. That is Christian joy. Tears are holy things, and laughter is a holy thing. Tears and laughter together are also holy, and they are perhaps some of the most holy things. We bring a lot to the altar with us when we come up to receive communion. We bring joy and we bring sorrow, and we lay it all on the altar, and God makes all of it, all of us, holy, because it has been offered with a full and open heart. Or it has been offered with a heart that really doesn't want to give it up, but it's still brought to the altar. That is faith as well. So rejoice, all of the dark places in your heart, all the dark places of the world, if we bring them to God with trembling hands, with joyful hands, with hesitant hands. If we still bring them to the Lord, they will be part of God's resurrection. And there could be no greater good news than that. Don't worry. I'm always scared of the altar guild when they give me that look.